In today's society, you go on social media and you can see absolutely anybody. You can see their life, you can see where they live, you see inside of their homes, you see what they drive, you see how they look. For us females, when we look out there in cyber world, globally, the women are taking a certain kind of shape, right? Yeah, you get what I mean. Or you may think that, if I don't have that handbag, I'm worthless. Like my life is just useless, pointless, right? Or for the males, they're thinking to themselves, man, if I don't have that family or if I don't have that kind of job like my peers or, different persons my age, then certainly nothing's happening for me. Well, guys, today I'm here to talk to you about protecting your gates. Stick and stay. Welcome back to my channel, guys. It is an absolute pleasure to have you back on here. I'm so grateful for your presence. Today, we want to talk about how I've been able to change my mind, my life over these past few years. And I do that through protecting my gates. I am so careful. I try to be so vigilant because I know how important these things are to just being effective in what it is that I do. And so I want you guys to just bear with me through this conversation. I want to lay some foundations down first. I want to explain to you what the soul is. Then we go into, what are the gateways to the soul and how it is that I put up these boulders or walls or I protect my own gates because maybe it can assist you in your daily lives, whether you are a Christian or not. And of course, I don't make my thing so technical that, you need a Bible scholar to sit and listen to what I'm saying. I make it so simple that anybody can listen and be refreshed and feel good, or even if you feel condemned, I mean, it's for good reasons, for change, right? But no, that's definitely not my intention. So guys, the first thing I want to share with you is that we are made up of three different divisions. Just like God is a trinity, we are a trinity. We're made up of the body, the spirit, and the soul. Now today I want to focus on the soul because that's pretty much where we that's how we operate, that's how we think, that's how we feel. Everything, it really takes shape within that little region. And so our soul is our mind, our emotions, and our will. Now, I know some of you may know that Beyonce song that, it has a line in it that says, it's our soul that needs surgery. And let me tell you, whether you think she's Illuminati or not, that thing is so on point. That is literally where everything happens. Before you act out any, before you do any act, before you decide that you're going to go after something, it has to start right there in your mind. You must feel some sort of emotion and you must have a will, right? And so our soul is really where it's at. That's what the enemy is after. He knows that if he can't stop you from coming to Christ, then if he messes with your mind, if he messes with your emotions and your will, then he can pretty much take over your whole being. And so we want to be very careful about how we operate on a daily basis. And I really want to break this thing down for you guys so that you can understand. Now, every baggage, every brokenness, every betrayal, every hurt, every miscommunication or misunderstanding, everything, it happens right there in your soul. When you were a child and your father abused you, It literally registered within your mind, in that part of your soul. It caused some sort of emotion, right? And you're now 30 something and you're still carrying around this baggage from that abuse because it has caused some level of trauma. So you can't forget it. And it has disrupted so much in your life. Because it may be that because of that abuse, you can't really function within your marriage. Or because of that abuse, you can't function in any relationship having to do with a male at all. And so these are some of the things when I say that it has to do with their soul and all these brokenness, because remember, as a child, you pick up some issues. Because if you lived in a torn home, or, you were bullied, or, you lived in poverty or anything, you started picking up different issues and, brokenness and hurt and pain. And what happens is, by the time you get to your 30s, your 20s, you're carrying around quite a bit. It's a whole lot. So because of what's going on in your mind and how you feel from these different traumatic experiences, it affects how you do everything. I mean, if you suffer from rejection, let's say that your mother rejected you, your mother gave you up for adoption, but you registered that as she not wanting you. And so you go around in life feeling as though when somebody pulls away from you, it's rejection, then you start rejecting people as well. When the truth is, it may not even be so. So it's all coming from your perception or what you have gone through. Now, I had to lay this foundation about the soul because the truth is, there's no real change in your mind, in your emotions, or your will until you deal with these different things that you are walking around with. Now, before we even go into the different gates and how you protect the gates, I want to also add that it doesn't matter if you are 100-year-old Christian, or you just got baptized, or you're still living in the world. The truth is, when you are saved, your spirit is saved. Your mind, on the other hand, it's going to take work to get you to really do away with thinking particular things, or gravitating to a certain kind of music, or gravitating to certain kind of movies. It's going to take time because you didn't get to that point overnight. It took many years for you to actually get to that point where you actually thought like that. So the soul is not like the spirit. It's not like the spirit. It's totally different. And so it's going to take actual work. So what I'm sharing with you right now is not something that you can literally just say, okay, yes, I understand, Nas, and that's it. You're changed tomorrow. No, it takes work. It took me so long to get to this point, because when I was growing up, I was abused. I was sexually abused by more than one males. And it affected me so bad that when I was in my teens, I hated when the opposite sex spoke to me. I was annoyed, I was worried, I panicked because I thought that everybody was going to do that to me. And so it does take a toll on you, and it takes years of not being in denial, but dealing with what has happened to me, and just to understand that, this thing, it doesn't make me. It doesn't mean that because this has happened to me, my life is doomed, but I just need to grow from that and see how best I can help other people who are going through these issues as well. If you feel free to talk about it, that is. Now, I know a lot of this may be so deep for some of you. You don't really want to touch on them because, it's stemming from, maybe your mother was verbally abusive. She will tell you that you're ugly, or she'll tell you that you're like your dad, or, she probably preferred her other children. And some of these things, nobody wants to deal with them. But I really feel led to share because you have people out there who are seriously struggling with these things, and somebody needs to share with them that your life is not over and you can actually be free, like be at peace, be happy, feel joy. So I want to now go into what are the gateways to the soul. Now, the gateways to the soul, as I will call them, are, functions that we work with every single day. Now, one such gate are your ears. We have two ears. We know that the Word of God says that faith comes by hearing, and by hearing the Word of God. Well, faith comes by hearing, and hearing the Word of God, and doubt and fear and everything else comes the same way. So, listen, if you are listening to the wrong things and giving your ears to the wrong people, they will be able to plant seeds of doubt, fear. You'll be misguided. You will believe lies. And so you have to be very careful what you dedicate or who you dedicate your gates to. They're the first gates I want to dive into. You have to be careful about who has your ear. So let's say you are at work and there's a particular coworker who came to you and said, your supervisor told me that, your work is sloppy and yada, 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 and whatever. And you took that on so badly, you were so mad, you felt so down because of what you heard. That is one example of somebody speaking into your gates, and then that thing has seeped so deep into your heart, into your mind. You started thinking all kinds of negative things about your supervisor. Then your emotions get out of whack for the whole day. So you've had a horrible day at work. You start turning up for work late because now you feel as though your supervisor is totally against you. And the whole work experience has, it just goes to naught after that. That is one example of how if you're not protective of your ear gates, what can happen to you. On the flip side, if when that coworker came to you, you said, well, why would he or she say that? And the next coworker would say, well, we were discussing, that project that you did and so on. So they were just giving me some background to the work that you did. Or you may say, well, I'll speak to that person, I'll speak to the supervisor about what they said. If you are able to not quickly accept what you hear, it will save you a lot of mental energy, right? It will actually prevent you from going down this rabbit hole of, one, despising the person, two, suddenly having some kind of animosity, or you suddenly resent the person, and then the resentment builds up until you just can't stand the whole environment. So you have to be careful. I'm going to give you another example. I remember once going to the doctor because my husband wasn't feeling well. And when we went to the doctor, she was probably about 3 at the time, 3 or 4. And she was just moving around, all over the place. And I remember while the lady was doing Jamar's test, she said to me, I bet you're going to come back here Thursday with her because she's sick. And guys, in that moment, maybe I was mentally fatigued because I was worried about Jamar, or, maybe I was concerned that he was having issues, that I didn't pay or grab what she said quickly to renounce it. But in that moment, I said to myself, why would she say such a thing? I grabbed Amy, wiped her hands off, took her to the pipe, washed her hands, and I moved on. Guys, in my heart of hearts, I knew I should have said, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus, or I don't accept that, or I say to her, you shouldn't have said that. I didn't do anything. Guys, sure enough, the next day, Amy started getting sick. And immediately when I realized she was having a fever, I was reminded of what the nurse said to me. And I really did brought her back that week to see the doctor, Amy that is, because she was sick. I did not protect my ear gate. I did not renounce the thing. And this is what I'm talking about when I say you need to protect your gateways. Because things will always be said by persons. And they're going to hurt. They're going to hurt like crazy. But you have to get to a point where you say, you know what? I'm going to protect myself, where you listen, but you don't take it all in. You don't dwell on it. You move past it. Or if you think it will have spiritual repercussions, then you rebuke it right away. But that was just one example of how I allowed something that was said, did not pay attention to, the implication, and it ended up turning out to be a complete disaster because the baby was sick for real. And I learned my lesson from then. So I have been so vigilant about what it is that I hear. Even today, I will hear things about what people say about me. And guys, let me tell you something. I'm being honest with you. I still find myself in situations where the person may need help and I'll still help them. The person may say really awful things about me and I just not allow it to destroy my life. Like, I'm not going to give it the time of day because I don't want that taking root in my heart. I don't want to feel those emotions of resentment and hatred, because I know that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but there is an actual enemy behind all these things. And guys, when you are effectively protecting your gates, you don't treat people badly, because at the end of the day, you know that it's not a human fight, right? People are literally used as pawns in the devil's hands. And so that's about, protecting your ears. And protecting your ears is not just about people. It has to do with the music you listen to, the movies you watch. Now, in this society where we have reels and YouTube shorts and everything, sometimes a lot of these things are coming from soulish matters. Of course, somebody's marriage went south and all of a sudden there's this reel going on around about, if your partner doesn't deserve you, yada, yada, yada. And you take that and you make that your mantra. But what it's really doing is planting seeds of having resentment towards anyone who doesn't give you what you want, which is not realistic. And so I'm saying you have to be careful. Guard your ear gates. Not every conversation needs to be had. Not everything needs to be heard. You don't need to put yourself in situations at times where you know that it's going to inflict pain on you and it's going to cause you to go down that downward spiral of just being depressed, full of anxiety, hurt, pain, disappointment. Don't do that to yourself, because you know what you struggle with. So don't do that to yourself. Now, the other gate that I want to mention to you are actually your eyes. Your eyes are gate. I started out this conversation by saying to you that, guys, listen, every girl now looks and shapes a particular way. It's ridiculous. And I'm not hating on anybody. Believe me, I want a flat stomach too, but I think I'm going to go the long route. I'm going to get that diet and exercise together at some point. But when you look at all these different things that are going on, if you are in your own little world and, you're going to start thinking that I need to look this way to feel important. I need to look this way to feel like I look good. And so you have to protect your eyes. You don't need to go on certain pages. You don't need to see certain people. You just don't have to. I remember when I was going through a really bad breakup, I had to come off of social media for a while, because let me tell you, that boyfriend had did a number on me. Because listen, I came off of Facebook. for probably over a year, because I did not want to feel tempted to go on his page. I didn't want to see what was going on over there, and I did not know how to, hold back the feeling of going to go look. So I decided that I was going to come off completely. And I did that. And I wasn't even a Christian at that time. But I realized that if I wasn't on it, then I wouldn't be tempted to go look. So I learned, little strategies on how I can protect myself. Another thing is, let's say, for example, that you suffer from insecurities. You may feel like an imposter. You may look out there and you're a singer and you see another singer and you feel so inferior to that person. And you're constantly checking that person's page and you're seeing what they're doing and their gigs and, how high of a notes they can sing. That's going to affect you. Like, you're not at that place yet. You're not strong enough yet to be looking at the work of this person without feeling a particular way. Then just remove yourself completely. Let's say that you're a guy, you're really struggling with lust right now. Then you can't be on social media where you're gonna see half naked women all the time. Guys, I'm just speaking facts. This is reality here. Just remove yourself from those things. You can minimize them. Let nobody tell you that, in this society, there's no real way to avoid it. You can actually make an attempt. For example, I can share another one with you. I get really anxious, like when I watch the news, and it makes me so angry. So again, I'm showing you how, your gates can actually open up to different things for you to feel the emotion and then may inevitably sin, right? So I hate the newspaper outlets. Like, I used to follow them all. I unfollowed them all because I went through a period where I was having such huge panic attacks last year that I said I had to minimize what I was viewing. And the reason I was so affected was because the headlines would always throw me off, especially when it had anything to do with women and children. It's like my mind could not wrap its head around, the murder of a young baby or the murder of a mom. And it was just too much for me. I'm not saying that you're going to live in denial. What I'm saying is you're going to protect your gates. Protect your gates. You know that there are some things that affect you so bad that it's like you can't sleep, you dream about it, all these different things. Then pull yourself away from that. Minimize the time you spend on that, right? It's only gonna make you more and more upset. It's only gonna make you more and more anxious. It's only gonna make you more and more fearful. Then just stop watching them. Those shows that they're really affecting you, protect your gates. Stop allowing these things to control your life. Like, go find something else to do. And so my eyes are also another set of gates that I'm so careful about. Also, let's look at let's say you're struggling with envy. If you're struggling with envy and there are people out there that you really wish you had their lives, like, just stay away. Guys, I'm serious. Just stay away from them. Like, you don't have to be in the people's presence and for that feeling to continue to foster or linger. Like, just pull yourself away until you're able to heal. And then the third gate is your mouth. Now, we know that our mouth, our tongue is so powerful. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. It's a gate. You can block anything that doesn't need to enter your life, and you can also speak things that will enter into your life. So it goes both ways with this one, right? Unlike the ears and the eyes that just receive, your mouth actually gives out, right? And it receives as well, because you can accept things that are said about you or things that you see in your life. And so, with your mouth now, let me tell you something. It's so crazy. People will speak the most negative things over their own children, over their own lives. Sometimes you get up, in the morning and you want to go after a particular thing, and then all of a sudden you call yourself crazy. You say, oh, you're a failure. This will never happen. You're talking to yourself now, So you're like your own worst enemy ever. And we have to stop. So protecting your gate. I find that when I'm really upset, when I'm angry, I won't even talk. I will say to the individual, I'll say, hey, let's talk about this another time, because if I am to say it right now, it's not going to sound really good. And my husband has this thing where he will say to me, sometimes you come off really harsh or brash, and I don't have that intention, but I'm so careful with choosing my words, right? It's not about being a hypocrite. I hear people saying that a lot. It's not about being a hypocrite. It's just being careful about what I say and how I say it. So I will use as little words as possible and I will say what I mean, but we have to protect our mouth, we have to use our tongue to lift up and not bring down. No, I did not anticipate this video to be so long. Let me try and rush through. Now, these things are actually triggers to your soul. So we spoke about the soul being our mind, our emotions, and our will. Now, these gates that I mentioned, these 5 gates that I mentioned, are actually the gateways to your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, and ultimately your free will. So because you weren't vigilant about, what you read or saw about somebody, suddenly you have this built up resentment towards them. That's emotion. And then after that, you start thinking so negatively about the person when the person doesn't even know that you exist. They don't know that you feel that way, but you think like that. And so that whole relationship goes downhill because, again, you perceive through your own brokenness. So what I'm going to leave with you is that you need to do some evaluation of what it is that you're feeling, how you feel. Why do you feel this way about your mom or your dad? Or, let's start from there. Start from those things in your childhood that you think you have carried till this day, and it will help you to understand why you operate in the relationships that you have now in that manner. And then now what I want you to also do after you've done that evaluation is you need to learn strategies for protecting your gates. If you know someone is calling with some sad news, as always, because that's all they do, they're bearer of bad news, then maybe you don't need to take that phone call right now. Right? You have to learn to protect your gate. Maybe it's something that was said horrible about your family. You need to renounce it. Protect your gate. Also, you want to give yourself time to heal. I'm not saying this is a process that's just gonna end right here and now. It's not gonna end so quickly. It's going to take time. And so when I say that you need to give yourself time to heal, allow yourself to feel the feelings, allow yourself to feel doubtful, allow yourself to feel resentful or rejected for a particular time. You cannot live in that negative emotion. You have to suck it up at some point and say, okay, well, that's how I feel right now, but how can I change this? I'm not telling you anything that I haven't gone through myself. I have actually had to implement these own things in my life. And to the point where I will know that people don't have my best interests at heart, but at the same time, I can still say, hello, how are you? Have a blessed day. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because I don't hold any grudges with that person. Right? And so you have to get to that point where you allow yourself, give yourself time to heal. It's not going to be overnight. Feel the feelings, but just know that you have to get over it at some point in time. And then another thing is that you have to be at peace with the past. It has happened. You've learned from it. You've struggled through it. It has caused you a lot of damages, probably some friendships, probably some relationships, but make peace with it. Say, yes, it happened to me. and I am a survivor, and I can help people that have faced that same issues if you are ready to talk about it. And then the last point I have for you is that you have to press ahead with God's grace, with God's help, through prayer, through fasting, through counseling, because I don't want to negate the fact that it's not just about talking to God and getting delivered. It's also going through those practical channels of finding help. Go talk to a counselor. Go talk to someone who can guide you through these negative emotions, who can help you to get past the hurt of being a broken-hearted daddy's girl, or someone that your mother abused. You have to actually make these steps to be whole and press ahead. Look ahead. Look for brighter and new things. Stop dwelling on the past. Guys, again, these are things that I have actually had to go through for myself. And I'm telling you guys, if you apply them, if you really sit after listening to this, evaluate your own life and say to yourself, where are some of the areas in my life that I have been broken, and how can I use my gates, my ears, my eyes, and my mouth to protect my soul, which is my thoughts from my mind, my emotions, and my will. It's not easy. I'm still in process, but it's worth it. You have to protect your gates. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this has helped you in any way, shape, or form, let me know in the comment section and give me a thumbs up, because I know this is deep and a lot of you probably didn't want to get into it, but God is doing something new in this season, and we have to just allow Him to do just that, which is to give us a fresh start, to deliver us from those old things that we have been literally dragging with us into 2022 and possibly looking to drag into your life into 2023. Why not leave it now? Why not confront those things now? Have a great and blessed day. We'll talk. Bye-bye.